Update on the Delta tire explosion that killed 2 individuals and injured 1. First, we're going to look at a news report. Then we're going to look at 2 articles, the OSHA report, and the lawsuit was filed on behalf of the family of one of the individuals that's killed. So let's go ahead and look at that news report.
Tonight, the family of a maintenance worker killed after an airplane tire exploded at the Atlanta airport. Well, that family now suing Delta Airlines. The lawsuit was filed by Luis Alderondo's loved ones. The 37-year-old from Noonan was one of 2 employees killed last August in that incident inside Delta's wheel and brake shop. The lawsuit claims Delta failed to provide adequate training and failed to ensure employees use proper safety precautions while doing wheel and tire maintenance. Delta was also issued a citation by OSHA and required to pay a $16,000 penalty. Now, just moments ago, we got this response from Delta Airlines saying, quote, "At Delta, nothing is more important than safety. Following the tragic incident, we launched a thorough investigation and have already implemented corrective actions that are consistent with those provided by OSHA."
Now let's look at this article. Lawsuit filed over deadly tire explosion at Atlanta's airport. The lawsuit claims Delta Airlines' negligence led to hazardous conditions that resulted in Luis Alderondo Jr.'s death, with allegations of failing to protect workers from known struck-by hazards. OSHA's investigation concluded that Delta's actions or inactions contributed to Alderondo's death, highlighting a lack of proper safety devices and inadequate training for workers. The suit seeks for damages for Alderondo's life value, funeral expenses, pre-death suffering, and punitive damages, with a demand for a jury trial. So Alderondo died on August 27th, 2024 while working in the airline's wheel and brake shop, according to a wrongful death lawsuit. What we know is an investigation by the OSHA included that Delta's actions or inactions contributed to Alderondo's death, the complaint states. These are all allegations. So the lawsuit alleges Delta violated its duty to provide a safe work environment by not requiring proper safety devices such as hydraulic clamps or cages, by allowing workers in the shop without ensuring completion of structured on-the-job training. Delta Airlines Inc. breached their duty by exposing individuals like decedent to struck-by hazards while servicing pressurized multi-piece aircraft rims, the complaint reads. Let's move on to the next article. So Delta facing lawsuit, OSHA fine in 2024 deadly tire explosion. Delta Airlines is facing a lawsuit with a hefty fine for a fatal tire explosion at one of its maintenance facilities in 2024. So here, Delta was also issued a $16,550 fine from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. The employer did not furnish the employee's employment and a place of employment which were free from recognized hazards that were causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm. OSHA found that the employees were exposed to struck-by hazards. The employer failed to ensure that adequate aircraft tire deflation procedures were developed and implemented to control the struck-by hazards associated with explosive separation of multi-piece aircraft wheel rims that can be caused by rapid depressurization of aircraft tires during wheel disassembly. Let's move on to the OSHA violation. So the violation detail from OSHA. So here they're showing that they have initial penalty of $16,550 and the current penalty of $16,550. Let's look at what they found. So the employer did not furnish the employees employment and a place of employment where they were free from recognized hazards that were causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm, in that employees were exposed to struck-by hazards while servicing pressurized multi-piece aircraft rims. A. Wheel and brake shop breakdown area. On August 27, 2024, employees were exposed to struck-by hazards in that the employer failed to ensure that adequate aircraft tire deflation procedures were developed and implemented to control the struck-by hazards associated with explosive separation of multi-piece aircraft rims that can be caused by rapid depressurization of aircraft tires during wheel assembly. Now, all of these will be linked in the description, or you can find them from the articles in the description. So their general duty clause. Each employer shall furnish each of his employees employment and a place of employment which are free from recognized hazards that are causing or are likely to cause death or serious physical harm to his employees, shall comply with occupational safety and health standards promulgated under this act. And B, each employee shall comply with occupational safety and health hazards standards and all rules, regulations, and orders issued pursuant to this act, which are applicable to his own actions and conduct. Now let's move to the lawsuit. So the lawsuit was filed 3/28/2025, so that's just last month. And it's the family of Mr. Alvarado. So come now, plaintiff Sonia Y. Cruz, and as administratrix of the estate for Luis Alvarado, deceased, and individually on behalf of her minor children, Christina, Angelica, as survivors of the estate, and sues defendant Delta Inc., showing this honorable court the following. So it goes through parties, jurisdiction, and venue. So we have the plaintiff, we know who those are now, and the defendants. Delta Airlines Inc. is a foreign profit corporation with registered agent. So Delta's a defendant. And then defendant ABC Corp. 1 and 2 are involved, corporations and entities tasked with training individuals for work in the area where the decedent was killed and are involved in maintenance or providing equipment in the area. They will be amended into the action upon identification and will be served pursuant to Georgia Civil Practices Act. John Doe's 1 and 2, so we have two other individuals that we don't know their names, are employees or agents of defendants. So they may be contractors from this ABC Corps. Partially responsible for descendants' injuries. They will be amended into the action. So the venue is proper. So let's get to the negligence. Count 1, negligence of Delta Airlines. So this is what they are alleging that Delta failed to do. So they go through 1 through 7, all the same. August 27, 2024, decedent Luis Alvarado was seriously injured and killed at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport as a result of a hazard in the wheel and brake shop. OSHA conducted an investigation of the incident and determined that certain actions or inactions of Delta Airlines contributed to or caused the resulting death of Luis Alvarado. Delta Airlines had a duty to provide staffing, agency employees, and independent contractors, as well as employees, a place of work which was free from recognized hazards that were causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm. Delta Airlines breached their duty by exposing individuals like decedent to struck-by hazards while servicing pressurized multi-piece aircraft rims. August 27th, decedent was exposed to struck-by hazards, and that Delta Airlines Inc. failed to take steps to control the struck-by hazards associated with explosives separation while handling and serving multiple piece rims when tires were pressurized. Their breach of duty proximately caused personal injury to decedent and death. Delta Airlines owned a duty to decedent to act with reasonable care not to harm him or others. Delta Airlines owed a duty to decedent to implement mechanism to ensure that their employees or independent contractors used a hydraulic clamp, cage, or other method to safely service aircraft wheel and tire assemblies at all times. Let's just have this equipment inside the wheel and brake shop. So you install the wheel in the cage or a clamp or however they have it set up to do, or they're supposed to have it set up to do. And that's when they can work on it. They can depressurize it and repressurize it. That way, if anything happens, it's contained. Require all employees and independent contractors, including ones from outside departments, to complete structured on-the-job training prior to working in the wheel and brake shop. Anybody that works in aircraft aviation knows that there's always training involved wherever you go. Whatever section you're in, whatever department you're in, whatever shop you're in, there is training that is set up for that shop, or there should be. Ensure the structured OJT checklist for the wheel and brake shop was completed by the lead AMT. This tells me that Everybody in that shop may not have a license, may not have an A&P license if there's a lead AMT. And it may not be, it could just be the, like what we call the crew chief where I used to work, over the crew. And he's just responsible to make sure all their OJT is signed. It may not be the case. It may just be that this part wasn't done. Prior to allowing employees or independent contractors to work without a trainer present. Reassess the wheel disassembly process to ensure the job hazard assessment included all steps and potential hazards associated, e.g. when it is necessary to deflate the tire. So they must have found something not right in their procedures when it comes to deflating the tire, if it actually did occur during the deflation process. And other duties that may be shown by evidence and proven at trial. So now we go to where Delta, they're claiming that Delta breached its duty. Now, once again, these are all allegations, but this is what they're alleging now. So this is what Delta was supposed to provide, and this is what they're saying they failed to provide, which is basically a restatement of everything that just came before. So they failed to implement a mechanism to ensure that their employees or independent contractors used a hydraulic clamp, cage, or other method to safely service aircraft wheel tire assemblies at all times. So they may have had the equipment, they just didn't use it. Failing to require all employees and independent contractors, including ones from outside departments, to complete structured on-the-job training prior to working in the wheel and brake shop. Perhaps they had some independent contractors, those that John Doe 1 and 2 that came in as independent contractors, and they weren't required or they didn't have the on-the-job training. Failing to ensure structured on-the-job training checklist for the wheel and brake shop was completed by the lead AMT prior to allowing employees or independent contractors to work without a trainer present. So possibly the individuals working on this did not have their OJT signed off. Not necessarily meaning they didn't have the OJT, but nobody checked to make sure they have it. Failing to reassess the wheel disassembly process to ensure the job hazard assessment included all steps and potential hazards associated when it is necessary to deflate the tire. And committing other negligent, reckless acts and omissions may be shown in evidence at trial. So we have defendant Delta Airlines, violations of the aforementioned duties of care of negligence. As a direct and proximate result of Delta Airlines negligence, decedent was injured and ultimately died. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's negligence, decedent sustained and suffered grievous injuries, including bodily injury, mental and physical pain and suffering, and death. So what they're trying to get, proposed on behalf of the survivors, is entitled to recover defendant's damages for the full value of life. That's all the money he would have earned were he still alive for his wrongful death, in an amount to be proven at trial. They want to get personal injury damages, funeral, burial expenses, damage for pre-death pain and suffering, and whatever be proved at trial. Count 2, negligence, entrustment, training, supervision, and hiring of John Doe defendants. So plaintiff realleges and incorporates everything from 1 to 22 above, and they say the defendant negligently trained, hired, and supervised, and retained John Doe's 1 and 2, and its negligence in doing so proximately caused decedent's injuries and death. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's negligence, defendant suffered grievous injuries, bodily injury, mental and physical pain and suffering, and death. Once again, they're asking for the same damages. Count 3, respondent superior. What this means is they're alleging that Delta, as the employer, is responsible for his employees and what they're doing while they're being employed. So defendant is responsible for the negligent acts and admissions of John Doe's 1 and 2 under the doctrine of respondent superior. They're wanting attorney's fees and litigation's cost. See, this is all standard stuff whenever you have a lawsuit like this. These things right here. And punitive damages. Here's a reminder on who decided an investigation was necessary.
Safety and Health Administration, also known as OSHA, is conducting their own investigation into this incident.
Delta says it's conducting a full investigation into exactly what happened. The FAA is aware.
The FAA is aware? They should have been the first to step in. The FAA is directly responsible for airline maintenance programs, including training, safety, and certification of individuals, conducting audits to ensure airlines meet requirements set forth by the FAA. But what did they do? They sat back and let the airline investigate itself and implement corrective actions the airline deems necessary. 2 people died. The FAA decided to let a named party in a lawsuit, we all knew was coming, and rightly so, take the lead in the investigation. I know OSHA did an investigation, but they're not looking at everything the FAA would or should be looking at. If OSHA were doing an audit of the area and they saw this procedure happening in real time, would they have known there was a problem? Delta may have been doing this for a while. Has the FAA audited this area? And if so, when? The FAA investigates when pieces of planes fall off, smoke or fire in the cabin, even unruly passengers, incidents where no one has been injured or dies. But here, when 2 people die due to allegedly direct violations of regulations set forth by the FAA, their response, the FAA is aware. Let me know what you think. Links will be in the description. Like, subscribe. Peace out.